Oh, Ella, welcome. Ella, welcome to Big Conversations with your girl, Tea Adeyemo. It's Wednesday, January 29th, 2025. I want to say thank you for joining us. I hope you're well. We have a show for you tonight. Our first guest is none other than the mighty Dr. Charles Odame Ankra. He's a scientist, inventor, community leader, and educator based in Calgary, Alberta. He currently serves as a research manager at Global Analyzer Systems Limited, and he holds an adjunct professorship at the University of Cape Coast in Canada. He's like rap sheet or bio is in several pages. I've just summarized it to for you here tonight, and it's kind of important for you to know that as of January 1st this year, he took on the role of interim executive director for Calgary African Community Collective, furthering his commitment to community advocacy and community leadership. He joins us tonight to talk about what he does at CACC and more. Okay, exit. I don't know what I've done to him. Okay. Just bear with me. Okay. Oh, there you are. What did I do?
I don't know. It just kicked me out.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought I made my own screen larger, and then I
Okay.
was trying to get you back. I was like, where is he? Oh my goodness, what have I done? I was looking to send you a text message. Anyway, Dr. Charles Odame Ankra, you're welcome. You're very, very
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank
So
you.
I just gave a rather rumbling introduction of what you do. You work with scientists, an air quality expert, an inventor, a keynote speaker, and a community leader. Tonight, we're going to look at your work as community leader. Why are you so
Wonderful.
passionate about community leading? What is in it for you?
So, what I have come to believe is that our community is where we thrive. We thrive from our community. So, if your community is bad, it reflects on you. So you can't look good and your community is bad. It's everything goes hand in hand. So that drives me to step out of my comfort zone to support the community to so that we nobody's left behind in that principle of you are because I am Ubuntu. So I have come to realize that the very basic needs that everyone need is community. Community first, then your family. If you have a good community, you're bound to have a good family. If you have a good family and you have a bad community, it doesn't work. So to do that, it requires us to be intentional and investing our time and resources into the community to drive change, to ensure that everyone is getting equal and equitable access to what they need to be able to thrive. So it's like we have become like pathfinders for people and then bringing everybody into that space where we will all know that everyone is doing well, I'm doing well, and we are all happy as a community.
You've spoken like a true leader as executive director of Calgary African Community Collective, Calgary African Community Collective Community. That's the way Daniel Smith put it on her page.
Yes.
Just
Yeah.
she put community twice. Anyhow, what has that experience been for you as the executive director of CACC? What has it been like for you so far in
Thank you.
bringing community together?
I've been involved with CCC since its formation. We dreamt of such an organization. We put it together. Actually, I was the convener at the time, together with other leaders. CCC was born. And at the time, because of my work, we looked around and we realized that my very good friend Farah is quite able. So we asked him to take on the job of the first AD. And now he has a higher calling. He wants to do some work for the government and bring in our community further together. So there became an instant gap. So I'm like, you know what? It's never um, too much to be able to help drive this agenda forward because we have a lot of projects on the go. So I decided to step up to be able to step into this role and see where CCC can be driven to. And so being a leader, being the executive director, it hasn't changed. I've always been a foundation member of CCC, and I'm driven by the same passion that I was driven by when I was intermediate.
Hmm. So I hear what you're saying about being a leader. That's awesome, and now you were a foundational member of CCC. Is it too early to ask you? Because I know now you've come back as executive director. Is it too early to ask what are some of your plans for 2025? Would you already have mapped that out with your executive team, or you maybe need more time to figure out all of that?
So we're in the process of figuring that out. But I can tell you that in 2025, we are being very intentional in the types of events and the types of meetings we engage ourselves in. We're moving away from business as usual to genuine allyship and friendship. We want genuine allyship and friendship. So we are moving very closely and engaging with founders that also have a desire. And I need to stress that founders that do have a desire to change lives in Calgary, these are the founders we want to work closely with. We don't want to be someone's checkbox. No, we're moving away from that and we're engaging founders. Say, hey, this is our community. These are the challenges in the community. This is how we're going to solve it. This is what we need to solve it. Are you ready to partner us? Because we have the cultural know-how. You may have the financial muscle, or you may have the volunteering muscle. If you believe in what we are doing, that is going to change lives, it's going to change people's lives, it's going to change people. It's an investment for the future of Calgary. Then we're going to bring these partners and we're going to call them our friends. So we are looking for true friends. We're looking for true friends. As I said, we're not just looking for money. Yes, we need money to drive the change, but we are looking for true friends who will stand out and be counted at this critical moment in the African community to ensure that every child, every mother, every wife, every husband, every brother is not left behind. Every senior is not left behind, and that we are able to thrive in this community. So yes, I'm going to be very intentional. If you ask me what we went to do, very intentional. And the theme we came out with 2025 is our people. It's boldly written if you look on our website. The theme for 2025 is our people. And that's it. It's our people, and our people. It's about our people. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's about our people. And what we want to do is to help our people. So we're inviting friends into that space so that we can do it together.
Mm. Thank you very much. That my two things concern me. If I were in Calgary, would you consider me as our people, or our people have to be rich, black, and successful? And do they include women too, and maybe single mothers? That's just one question. What does our people mean? Is that everybody as a blanket,
Everybody.
or we need to pay a
Everybody.
membership to join in? Because I understand you have to be in good standing to be a member of CACC.
No, that is organizations. Organizations that identify with the dreams of CCC. You have to be a
Okay.
member in good standing. Yes. But
Okay.
our people means all of us. Everybody from
Does that include? Yeah.
the baby who was born this morning to this the oldest senior we have in our community is our people.
Okay.
Somebody can be very rich and be very lonely. So
That's true.
money is not community.
Can your organization be everything to everybody? Can you meet
Yes,
every black person in Calgary at their
absolutely.
point? Is that the goal?
Absolutely. Because we have over 80 organizations registered with CACC right now. And with that 80 organizations, they offer very unique program that address unique challenges in the community. So I'm pretty sure that every challenge we have in our community, there is an organization that is addressing that. And usually there's a disconnect. People don't know. So we are trying as much as possible to be able to connect with people, to know that this help is here, this person can help you, this person can support you. You have a business, these are the people who can support you to grow. Um, you're running a non-profit, these are the constituents that need help that will allow you to pay attention to. So CACC is like it's like a mother for all. And that's why we call it an umbrella organization. It's a mother for all. And CACC is gonna produce a lot of breast milk to feed its babies, to nourish them so that everybody is happy in the community.
Thank you very much, sir. I wanted to examine, for me, when you say funders who have a desire to change lives. My understanding is if you are worth $1 billion, like Calgary Foundation, you have a genuine foundation, a genuine desire to change lives. Do you not? So, could you maybe expatiate on funders, like who are the funders that don't desire to change lives, and should our mission not be to get cozy with these funders to get their monies? Money is money, right? We will determine
Yeah.
how the money,
Yes.
you know
I'm gonna give you I'm gonna give you, when I come to you and I give you money, and I don't want to say give, and I offer you money and say, T, here you go. Here's $100. Buy whatever you want to buy. Versus when I come to you, I give the same $100, then I give you a list of what I think you need. And then I ask you to go to the store and buy those things. Where do you think? Is it not the same money? Which one do you think is better? It is the
Mm,
money that allows you to solve your needs and wants. It is not the money that tells you what I think you need and what I think you want. What is
mm,
the purpose of training me on how to wash my hands when I don't have food on the table to eat?
oh, oh. Oh, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. You want funders that will let you control where the operational dollars you get go to. Is this what you're saying, sir?
Absolutely. We know our problems. We know our
Okay,
problems. So it's our people, our
okay.
problems, our solutions, our way. So
Mm,
if we're looking for a friend that will say, what are your problems? What are your solutions? What
mm,
are your ways? How can I come into that space to help you achieve your goals? That is
okay.
what I'm saying. We are looking for those friends who come
Mm,
into that space. Most of the time, we've seen very prescribed funding that goes, restricted funding that goes to the program outcomes of the big funders. The question is, are they solving problems? Yes, they might be solving problems, but is the impact what we expecting to see in our community? Of course, I don't think so. And I gave you a typical example. Why are you giving me money and training me on how to wash my hands so that I don't get germs into my
mm,
mouth when I'm eating? While at home I don't have food on my table to eat. Give me food. Ask me if I am hungry first. Give me food and now teach me how to wash my hands to eat. It's
mm.
about priorities. So funding priorities versus the community needs must match. If it doesn't match, then it's going to be a problem for
All
us
right.
to work. So that's going to be the mindset shifting that we are trying to engage a lot of funders with and say, look, the problems in our community goes beyond restricted funding. The problems in our community is cultural, it's diverse, it's unique, and we, through Afrocentric lens, will be able to fix these problems when we're given adequate resources and not just money. Okay, it's about connections, building the network. It's like the spider web. One place leads to the other, leads to the other, leads to the other, leads to the other. If we're able to build that spider web of support, we'll be able to tackle these issues in the community. And we are looking for funders that are willing and have a desire to work with us. And I can give you a typical example, like Calgary Foundation. They are willing and they have shown the desire to allow our organization to have money to be able to innovate through systems change programs.
Hmm. Thank you very much. And of course, we're all grateful for Calgary Foundation, their dollars, their support and all that they do. I know they make a difference within your collective in Calgary. This
Yes,
week, a couple of days ago, you met with the Premier
yes,
of Alberta, Danielle Smith. So let's just hit
yes.
it. How was that like? What problems were you able to prefer to her about our people? And what did you leave with?
So I hosted Premier Smith, fantastic woman, very good listener, a great analyst, and I presented to her and we've done this assessment among the organizations. I gave her a historical overview of when organizations are starting, where they are picking their problems. And she asked, so what are the problems? I said, well, within the organization, here are the gaps. I shared it with her. And I shared with her how Calgary Foundation is helping us address these challenges. And she promised that she wants to sit with Calgary Foundation to see how government can work through them to be able to even support as well. And that she's very impressed with what Calgary Foundation is doing with us. And that was a moment of happiness because it is we profit solutions to her, and she wants to see how she can fit into that space to be able to help the community. So anyone that comes to CCC must be ready to ask all the questions and see where they can fit in to have the
Yeah.
solution with a solution. Because the solutions are there. We are not designing new. The solutions are there. All we need is a friend, a genuine friend that wants and that genuinely wants the community to thrive and just don't want to throw money just to throw money for programming sake, but want to make sure that the impact that we have in the community is measurable and it's just transforming lives.
Mm. So when you met with the premier, you sat with your leaders and you figured
Yeah.
out what the problems were. And then this was what you tabled to the premier. May I just ask you if you're willing to answer, and if it's confidential, don't. What were the top three problems you preferred or you gave to the premier as this is where we need support?
The first thing is that the grassroots organizations that are serving our community are not well resourced to be able to do the work. Most of them are run on a volunteer basis. So we are looking for funding to be able to help resource these grassroots organizations so they can do what they do better. That is the first thing. Two, the system change project that we are undergoing, this is the third year for Calgary Foundation, is coming to an end soon. We tabled the idea. We want the government to match what Calgary Foundation did to ensure that we will continue for another 3 years to continue to finish the work that we started. And then the third thing is emerging crisis in our brothers from the East African community because of the numbers, the volumes of immigrants that are coming into that community is overwhelming the grassroots organizations that are serving them. And we are seeing increased violence, we're seeing increased school dropouts, we're seeing like high incarceration rates, we're seeing family breakdowns. And as I speak to you now, I have commissioned a needs community needs assessment to find out from the community what are the issues, why are these things getting worse? Although the federal dollars and provincial dollars have been poured into the community, why are these things getting worse? So what the outcome of that will help inform the third point, and I hinted the premier on it. And the premier even met the East African community right after meeting CACC to hear from them firsthand some of this endemic, emerging, and practical needs within that community, and see how government can mobilize urgently mobilize and nip those problems in the bud.
Hmm. Unemployment is high amongst Black
Yes,
Calgarians and Edmontonians or Black
yes.
Albertans. Was this maybe something you mentioned to the Premier?
Sorry. Yes, it was something I mentioned to the premier. I said, if grassroots organizations flourish, they are going to become employment agencies. They're going to employ people. They're going to employ our people. our people get good jobs and good, well-paying jobs, work for the community to transform the community. So if we are able to fund grassroots organizations well, they will be able to hire people, they'll be able to train people, and that will be in the beginning. That is the first economics 101. Two, if CACC is able to encourage these organizations that are delivering critical programs to the community, they will be able to help with both career coaching, language, everything that they need to be ready for the job market. And that is going to result in the transformation of our community. So, and business owners, when your community is gainfully employed, the small businesses within the community, they thrive. So it's a cascading effect. You fix one problem, that problem fixes the next, that problem fixes the next, it becomes a cascade. So yes, employment is very high on our priority, and we're engaging with the consultants. We're engaging to see how we can get small businesses in the black community and other persons patronize their products first, build the businesses up, make the businesses attractive, and also create jobs for our people. Because if your organization should grow and you are hiring 10 people, you have there's a high probability you're going to hire six to seven folks from our community, and that means that you are feeding a family indirectly. You know, so we're going to help, and that is part of our agenda. Seriously.
Yes, let's, Dr. Charles, I don't want, forgive me if it appears that I'm putting all our people's problems on your shoulders. That's not what this
Yeah.
is about. I'm just,
Yeah.
curious as to this important opportunity. How much of our problems was the premier intimated about?
Yes.
For those,
She has a copy of the needs
yeah,
assessment that she's going to study, and we gave her
okay,
a copy, and so she has a
right,
copy with it, and this is well documented. So that
okay,
because no, you can't solve all the solution in one sitting. We made a premiere for 13 minutes. That's how much time I could get for her. But in the 13 minutes, I will be able to highlight some critical pointers. And I do believe that the subsequent follow-up meetings, it's gonna make a lot of impact. Just watch this space and see what
all right.
CCC is going to do.
We're looking. So, what do you say to people who say, "But Justin Trudeau gave to the black community in Alberta millions and millions of dollars in the ecosystem funding? Was that not enough to fix all these problems you brought also to the premier?"
Well, that is a good question. The thing is, we have not put a value on we have not dollarized the problems in our community. So some people think that it's not until we actually do an analysis of the problems in the community and put a dollar value on it, and people will be blown away. I don't even think $100 million can fix the problem. It might be more. So yes, our prime minister did well in advancing money into our community. It has helped change a lot of lives, but it is the beginning. It is a tip of the iceberg. You know.
How can our community support the government? What did she tell you in terms of what she would like to see from your people, our people, to support the UCP government?
We need to let the government know what our needs are in a well-structured manner that everybody can
How
understand.
do we support them? How do we support them? With
That's the first way. We need to teach them
okay,
to
all right,
understand what a problem is. Because if you don't teach them to understand what your problem, how do they help you? They cannot help you. So we need to teach them what our problem is, let them know the magnitude of the problem, let them know the impact it's having on our community. And from that informed decision, they will be able to move policies and move proportional amounts to our community to begin to see the changes that we want to see.
okay. How can we join your people, our people, the CACC? Understand, the good standing component is for organizations, but for individuals to like me, let me just cut to the chase. When next you meet with the premier, how do we get an invite?
The next meeting with her will be massive. It will be a bit lengthy. We will sit with her. Well, we are not just going to meet the premier. We're going to engage with all the ministers as
Okay.
well. All the ministers, both provincial and federal. We want to let them know Um, the
Okay, so we lost you
problem.
there. Your video hung. We just come again 1 second. We
Can you hear me?
okay, now it's good.
Yeah. So we went to engage with our premier, the premier and the ministers. And then when we do that, we're going to do the same thing, teach them to understand the problems in our community, put a dollar value on it. And then we'll offer an open door policy that we are ready. If you're ready to help us, please come in and let's rock. If you're not ready to help, it's fine. You can stay away. That's fine. We're going through the lens of respect and friendship. We don't want it to be transactional. We want it to be human informed, saving of life from the lens of saving lives. We want them to realize that for every dollar that comes to our community, you are saving a family from disintegrating. For every dollar that comes to our community, you are keeping a child in school and keeping him away from the streets. For every dollar that comes to our community, you are making a senior happy by providing an avenue for an organization to bring them together to break the cycle of mental health due to isolation. So every dollar is solving a critical problem. Every cent has a life value attached to it.
Okay, that's fantastic, Dr. Charles. Odame Ankara, I want to say a big thank you for your time. The final question I had actually was people listening to this who want to join in this roundtable with the premier, who are also very passionate with about Black affairs, etc. Should they contact you so they can be in the
Yes.
loop for the next meeting? So how can they get in touch with you? How can they send you their proposals? What do
Please,
they need
please.
to yeah, let you know their problems when next you meet the premier or the policymakers and funders, you know, you can
So
table their is
first of
sorry?
all, we should talk. We have to talk. We need to talk to one another. Let
Okay.
us have that open door policy of talking to one another. If I know your problem,
Yeah. Hmm. Okay.
we don't know ourselves. We do not
Okay.
know ourselves. We need to get to know ourselves. We need to get to know that there's no West African, there's no East African, there's no Central African. We are Africans. And when we break down those barriers and we come together, we'll be able to present a coherent front and a cohesive, logical problems, well broken down into short, medium, and long term for the government to follow and assign dollar values to it. Until we get
Nice.
there, it's just gonna be this person I want that, this person says I want that, this person says I want that. But if we're able to bring all the problem into one pot and streamline everything, we'll be able to develop step by step guide for potential friends and funders to follow in order to support our communities.
Dr. Charles Odame Ankara, you are the Executive Director for Calgary African Community Collective. Thank you so very
Thank you.
much for your time. I
Thank
wish you
you.
all the best in your future meetings with the Premier and the
Thank,
powerful leadership work you do is so inspiring. I
thank you.
want to be a community leader at some point myself. So thank you very much for what you do for our
Thank
community
you.
and thank you for coming in tonight.
Thank you. Have a wonderful
Um,
evening as well. Bye.
and you too. Bye bye. That was Dr. Charles Odabe Ankara, the Executive Director of Calgary African Community Collective, talking to us about his meeting with the Premier and all the good work they do. Without much ado, our second guest is waiting. She is a councillor in Edmonton. I am letting her in. She's Councillor Jennifer Rice. And she will be telling us about some of our plans this year and so on and so forth. So we'll be right back after this. back to Big Conversations with your girl Tee Adeyemo. Without wasting any further time, this is Councillor Jennifer Rice. Good evening, Councillor.
Hi, good evening, T. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. Okay, on my screen, I'm not seeing you, but it appears you can see me. Okay.
I
Hello,
can see
Councillor. Happy
you.
New Year.
Happy New Year. Today is the first day of the Lunar New Year of Snake.
And
I
I
just
missed
I
that.
had just to come back from one celebration.
Yes, the one that I got an invite to that and I missed it. Oh dear. How was it? How did it go?
Yeah, everything is going really well. And then I think we are still our community and then still in the New Year mood. And everything getting so exciting and specific today. Even I ask myself, the first day of the Lunar New Year, what does that mean to me? What's my plan for 2025? Even like I was asking that type of question.
What were some of the answers you came up with? What does it mean to you?
I know this year actually is the last year of the 4 years term, and for me as a first term counselor, uh, I think this year is so important for me to continue to implement some priorities and then some the needs and from the community, from our citizens, and then continue to focus on their needs and our Edmontonians' needs in terms of our city's financial health, improve in terms of our city's infrastructure improvement, in terms of some other type of priorities. I think this year, and we only have almost 10 months and to do so many things, and at least I want to do.
Hmm. So let's start with the last 4 years. When you look at your time as counselor, what have been some of the highlights?
I think that's the last 3 years. Last 3 years.
I
Three
beg your pardon.
over 3 years,
Hmm.
and 2025 will be the last year. If you ask some key achievements, I think I have the long list. But what I would like to share with the audience and share with the community, and the uh, number one is I am really applaud of as a counselor. I think how I operate as a counselor is by listen to the people. I heard over and over and from so many Edmontonians say our voice is not being heard, and then it seems we make decision without really listen to the people. But what I at the same time what I heard and from many Edmontonians, even for the people um, not in living my word, and told me, and you are actually the counselor, really listen to the people, really demonstrate and how to operate it to be a representative. I think that makes me really proud of. And because I truly believe as a city councillor, our decision, every decision we are making will impact Edmontonians, and to make the best decision and for the people and listen to the people is the number one.
Mm. I thank you for that, and I know that. Okay. I thank you for that. I know that one of the main concerns, especially with Edmontonians and this particular council, has been inflation, high cost of groceries, and the property tax, the increase in property tax. And this is one reason why the anger of Edmontonians is, in my opinion, a bit high. And I may be wrong. What are you thinking about how Edmontonians have judged your time, or not just you, the entire cabinet, the entire cohort, judge your time as councillors? If you could reflect on that a bit for us, that'd be fantastic. Is it possible?
Tax rate increase, like you mentioned, the T, and there are many Edmontonians and facing the affordability and cost increase for their living. And then tax increase and is just results of our city's budget change. So my goal, and during 3 years and as a city councillor, my goal is always look at what is reasonable our city's budget expenditures. And because when we increase the expenditure budget, because city's budget and there are two big budgets. One is revenue budget and one is expenditure budget. When expenditure budget is getting higher and higher every year, and how to fill the gap and between the revenue and expenditures, and then the solution seems right now is only to increase the budget, the increase the property tax. So I do not support the property increase. And as you can see, and from public voting records, I'm actually the councillor and voted against and the city's expenditures increase and voted against the tax increases. The reason is not about the vote against. The reason is about I do believe we have more room to look at the zero increase and for the city's budget's expenditures. And then specifically, and for certain area, and what is priority, and we need to spend the money. What is the area we could and look at and to defer some expenditures? I think the public is getting angry about the tax increase, and it's not about the tax increase itself. It's about what is our city's financial health. What is the future financial conditions could carry on, and from deficit and from city's debt to our next generation. So that is reflect the question to us, to our current council. What is the fiscal responsibility we should implement more and in our budgeting process?
Mm, mm, mm. Thank you very much. And that is one of the many sore points that we have experienced as Edmontonians over the past 3 years. Can we talk a bit about, I think you just mentioned it's 10 months till the next election. I'm just wondering in terms of the city's priorities and plans for 2025, would you know what that would look like?
So our city has a specific city plan, and also we have our own business plan to talk about, to look at how our city to spend our money, to spend our tax on a certain sense. So the priorities and plans is really clear defined and in the city plan, and also defined in the city's business plan as well. I know, and from my perspective, I do believe every year's priority and plan and need to reflect the people's voice. So what are people thinking about the priority? And instead of what's council think priority. And maybe there is a gap and between council's priority and our Edmontonians' priority. And for example, right now, our Edmontonians say, we do not want to see the tax keep increase. We do not want to see the city's expenditure budget keep increase. Then what is our action to reflect that? To me, and then this year, and my hope, and our city's tax increase will reduce. And right, as you know, and last year, December, we approved, and for the 2025 will be over 6.9% increase. And for me, I think that is still too high. And for me, and then the priority we should look at what is most needs and from Edmontonians, and based on these needs to determine where we spend our tax dollars. And then based on that tax dollars, and is there any room and possibility, and we can work together to reduce our city's expenditure and reduce our city's tax increase.
Mm, mm, mm.
And
Thank
for,
you very
yeah,
Sorry,
so
go.
another thing related to I would like to add is infrastructure major projects. And so, as you may know, we received lots of complaint and from public in terms of our city's major, very big infrastructure. And so for the infrastructure project, and we focus on if this project is on budget, but definitely, and we have some major project not on budget. The budget increased a lot. Give you one example. For the Capital 9 South LRT extension project. So last year in 2024, Council approved the budget increase by $242 million. At the same time, the scope of project changed twice. That means reduce the scope twice at the same time to increase the budget. So I heard lots of concern from residents in my ward and which people I represent, and really concerned about our scopes reduced at the same time, and we increased lots and for the budget. And then the next question become, can we be on schedule to finish this project? So as a city councilor, I believe I have that responsibility to bring people's voice to council to make sure. And for the big major project, we should be stay on budget, on schedule, and on scope.
Mm, mm. Thank you very much, Council. I hear what you're saying when you say you've got to listen to people, you've got to stay within budget, and you've got to stay in scope. I absolutely get all that. What I'm more curious to learn actually from you, Councillor, is when you go and talk to people, when you talk to Edmontonians, what are they saying are their core sore points? What are their pain points? Is it, I don't know, what is it they're telling you that they're not happy about right about now?
So I, as a counselor, and then at least I have every month, at least I have one community conversation, either online or either in person, or sometimes a few times, and for me to meet with the people I represent. So the major concern, like you said, is the pinpoint I heard over and over, like I mentioned earlier. Number one, how to make sure people's voice to be heard during council's decision-making process. I can give you two examples, and one example is about a new rezoning bylaw. So new zoning bylaw, as you know, and we have hundreds people come to the city chamber, come to our city chamber, and to express the concerns of not sufficient public engagement to have people's voice to be heard. And when we develop this new, or when we update this new zoning bylaw, so our city's zoning bylaw, I know in the past 60 years, we did not have a comprehensive review or change. We have some like slightly change. But to make that big change, and by looking at the impact of those change could to the neighborhoods, and across our entire city, we have mature neighborhoods, we have the newer development neighborhood. But what's this new zoning bylaw means, and for those different type of neighborhoods, and how their voice to be heard by residents, specifically impact those residents in those area. So the first concern over and over, I heard people how to make sure our public engagement are meaningful and really follow that, bring our neighbors together for any new development or any infill development happened in the neighborhood. And because those development will impact our residents. And so that is one example I use to give to you and demonstrate why and listen to the people, why people feel like their voice not to be heard. That creates a question to me. And then, is there any improvement? Is there any new, or is there anything we could do differently and for our public engagement process? So that is number one. Number two, I heard, of course, the painful point is worry about our city's financial health. And in this past 3 years, during current council, and then our city actually achieved the highest deficit number, and back to 2023. So the projected at the beginning and was $73.8 million deficit. In the past 15 years, our city never had that highest number of deficit. So that gave the question, and then I asked the question over and over. And if we had a deficit, if we have increased debt, we had to borrow so many debts, and we have to use our tax dollars to pay the interest and for the debt. And why we cannot just pause to look at our financial situation, say where, what, why we have so many deficits? Is there any way and we can make some change? And because has a high deficit, has a high debt number, and is not good for our city's financial situation. So this is why you heard people so angry about our city spend too much money, our city's spending out of control, our city opens a new infrastructure without finishing the existing infrastructure. So all tons of the common concerns you heard over and over, and in the every time when you had conversation and with the communities.
Okay. Thank you very much, Council. I genuinely appreciate your transparency with that answer. I hear what you're saying. I have maybe two more questions, and I'll let you go. We're approaching Black History Month. Could you please remind us or intimate us of what plans the city has for Black History Month in 25 this year? What can we expect in terms of support and this and that from the city?
So our city actually is a very diverse city, and we have like over 70 different ethnic groups and communities. And every year, and we know we have Black History Month. I'm part of the team and really supports the different communities and their contribution and to our city. It's my understanding, and you can correct me, it's my understanding, our council, we actually started to celebrate and support the Black History Month from last year, right? From 2024.
I think so. I couldn't confirm either way, to be honest, Councillor.
Because last year I attended many events, and specifically with many initiatives and the city started to support Black History Month. I believe for 2025 we will do the same thing to support Black History Month for this year as well.
Okay, are there any particular events you wanted people to come out to? Does the city do any Black History event on their own, or it's just that the councillors go out en masse to support the over 70 organizations who put out events for Black History Month?
So I don't have the specific schedule in front of me. I do believe, and not only about the councillor going out to attend the event, is about our city initiative and many celebrate events and work together with communities, organizations for the different initiative and different events. So the initiative and events is a way and for us to demonstrate our city honor and respect the difference and the diversity and in our city's community. I think this is important and for our city to realize, and our city is very diverse. We have over 70 minority communities, and Black History Month is one of them, and then is like the is the beginning of every year. And I think this demonstrate and we care about the Black community, and we want use the different way and the different initiative, different events to make the community feel they have the support. So not only from the council is about the value our city is implementing.
Yeah, I agree. It is about value that it is implemented. Now, one final question. A lot of snow, a lot of potholes. I just can't wait for this wintry weather conditions to just go away. What is the city doing to keep on top of all the potholes across Chappelle, across everywhere? It's just filled with potholes.
Yes, the potholes. Just for the information, and then in 2024, actually our city is fixed over 500,000 potholes. And so you can imagine across the entire city, like how many potholes and city and is working every day to fix the potholes. And because the weather, like you said, our winter city, the weather create lots of like the challenge, and then including snow. We have in our city we have the snow and ice control, snow removal and ice control program. This program and then city actually this year, and I should say starting in the winter of 2024, we actually have that live map, that tool. I don't know if you are aware of that live tool to demonstrate, and anybody can go to city website to check and then where and our city is doing snow removal. And so that live tool and give the really convenience and for the community members to check and is the snow removing in our own communities happening, or is already happening, or when will happen. And also that gave the residents the reminders if the snow removal come into our neighborhoods, come to our community, or come to the certain nodes, and what's impact for our plan and to go out, and what's the impact for us. And I know many people and face some like the tickets and for the parking ban implementation. So this live tool and cover all the information we need to know. And I think I feel like this tool is really helpful and for the public to be aware of and also to use it. And that will really support our daily life and our daily planning, and then to move around and in the winter city. And also for the pothole, and you can call this 311 to report and the potholes, no matter is major road, no matter is a community road. And once you report through 311, and our city scroll team, and then they will come out and fix it right away.
Okay. All right, Councillor. That's a very convenient place to leave this off. I want to say a big thank you for your time tonight, for your generosity. I know you're very busy. I'm just grateful for your time tonight. Thank you so very much for sharing with us some of the things you celebrate as councillor, and some of the things you're hearing also from your constituents. And I hope we can bring you back here maybe later on in the year to compare and to talk more again. Thank you very much, Councillor Rice.
Thank you so much, Tee, and So your great work and always involve us and invite our counselors to talk about our council's planning, or talk about our council's priorities, and talk about our city's work and how we support and connect with community. I think your work actually demonstrates that involvement and also demonstrates that you take the responsibility to really looking at and how we can support the community better. So I want to take this opportunity to really appreciate your work, and hopefully, yeah, hopefully I can come back soon to talk about the different topics. And I know there are so many topics we can talk about. We can talk about our city's public transit services. We can talk about the ART project progress, and we can talk about our housing needs. We can talk about the infrastructure improvement. We can talk about also cities, green spaces, parks, and then some public services, including like library services. And we can talk about our city's financial situation. I know that is a topic, and then I would like to get into that topic even more. And because I want to mention that during last year, 2024, the budget, when we discussed the budget, and then our city's 2024 tax is 8.9%. So everybody knows it's too high. Everybody wants look at how we can reduce that. And I had the budget conversation. I had a budget survey, and it surprised to me. And our Edmontonians take close look and responsibly to finish the survey. My survey actually, I have over 1,000 participation to finish the survey, and people come to meet with me in person as well, and provide lots of suggestion how we reduce city's expenditure budget. So I want to take this opportunity to thank those people who participate this type of conversation to really take the responsibility as the citizen, as taxpayer to give me suggestion. So I brought their suggestion to council and how to reduce our city's expenditures. And then I hope all those suggestions will be passed, but unfortunately, and I did not receive the major support from council. So I was very disappointed and by the outcome, but I will continue this year. I will continue fight and for our Edmontonians to make sure our tax increase is not keep going high.
And for that, we're very grateful, Councillor Rice. I genuinely look forward to hearing more about this fight and all the work that you do. So we'll let you go now. Please have a good evening, and we'll see you back hopefully before Easter as we keep up to date with the powerful work you're doing for all Edmontonians at City Council. So thank you very, very much again, Councillor Rice. I'm grateful for your time.
Thank you, and you have a wonderful evening as well. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, ma'am. Happy New Year. Okay.
Okay.
All right, then. Okay, I want to say a big thank you to Councillor Rice for joining us tonight. If you missed it, you can go on our YouTube page and follow the conversation about potholes, about Black History Month, about celebrations and so points that Councillor Rice has experienced. And I'm just thinking, you want to stay tuned to this channel. Every Wednesday, we are going to be bringing the councillors back to tell us more about what they're doing. So without much ado, we have our final guest, Giselle General. She is a lot of things to a lot of people. But you may remember that in 2021, she ran in the Sipiwiniwak riding, and she earned 22.4% of the vote. Giselle General joins us tonight from Edmonton. Good evening, Giselle. How are you?
Not too bad, and Happy New Year. I think it's my first time seeing you this year. So, good evening and Happy New Year to all of you and all the listeners and subscribers of Ladies Corner.
Yes. What it is many people may not watch it now, but in the replay, Many people catch up with all the things that we are talking about. So welcome, 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 Giselle. You are always busy. I mean, right now you work for the province. I know that, but you've had an incredible year. You've had an incredible last 2 years, and awesome last 3 years. So let's start by talking about the movie you produced with Tell Us. How did that
Mhm.
come about?
Well, this is a very good update for you. Literally, before I jumped into the link for this video, I received the what they call in filmmaking the final cut. So the very, very final version of the documentary. So I'm really excited to finally submit it to TELUS. But let's take a step back, and I'd like to talk to a little bit about what the film is about and how the support and funding happened. For many people in Edmonton, they might actually not know that despite the big population of Filipinos in Edmonton, we do not have our own community hall. You might have heard of other cultural organizations like um, for instance, the Bangladeshi community, they have a Bangladesh hall or the Polish hall or the Ukrainian hall, but Filipinos don't have that. And a few years ago, an organization was formed because that idea to work together and try it once again, to have another standalone, independent community hall that would serve as the home for the Filipino community. That is the subject matter of the film. So I followed the organization. It's called Edmonton Philippine International Center, and covered as much as I can with the story from when they were founded in early 2020 and all the ups and downs, the struggles and efforts of these people and the community at large until the fall of this year. Now, TELUS has a specific program called Story Hive that helps filmmakers and creative folks to focus on different projects. And the particular category I was under is focused on community stories. So it was a perfect fit. I was able to get some funding. So this is my first time being a producer and a director. So that is the behind the camera responsibilities, project management. And I was also in front of the camera as the narrator and the interviewer of the key people of the film. It's approximately the final version is about 25 minutes roughly, and I'm about to submit it to the media outlet. And if all goes well, they give me the approval. Everything is, from every second of the sound and the visuals and everything else. If it fits their standards, I hope so. My teammates did a very good job and worked very hard making all the components of the film. The official broadcasting uh, will be happening either later this year or early next year. But yes, the project is wrapping up, and it's been a really incredible experience. I've never encountered anything like this before. I've never been to film school, so there's a lot of learning as you go. But I'm really hoping that this story is a way to for people to really understand the people who are trying to make this a reality. It's not always sunshine and rainbows, but it's not all tragedy either. So I hope that it becomes a documentation of that point in time, and which whatever happens to the organization, this dream of having a hall in a few years, that people continue to help making it happen. Mm-hmm.
What I find, thank you, Giselle. What I find most inspiring about that short narration of your project we tell us is how you can learn how to be a film producer, and then you go to Cannes in France, whereas and then you do what everybody else does, and then you win an award, and then you become a movie director. It's so mind blowing. Like, I'm so proud of you. And
Thank you.
I like your not just entrepreneurial spirit, but this idea that you keep trying, and in that trying there's growth, there's development, and here we are. Look at you, Giselle. Look at you.
Thank you.
I guess I cannot wait to see the production, what it looks like. Now, what were some of the challenges in producing the film? Was it easy to get people to collaborate or to work with you on that?
There's a few challenges that I encountered, and I mean, let's put the very important premise, which is I have never been to film school, so there's a bit of a freedom in that where you learn only the relevant things as you go. But there were times when I feel worried about myself because I was thinking perhaps these particular skill, maybe it's a very basic lesson that film students and filmmakers know about, but I'm learning how to do it all from scratch. Luckily, some of the people I ended up hiring to be part of the team, they have been part of different film production projects before here in Edmonton. So I leaned on them often for support. So that was really interesting and really, really good experience. But yes, it's my first time hiring a professional editor. It was my first time doing this thing called a walk and talk, where you are talking in front of the camera, but you're walking. So you have to look at your teleprompter, making sure you don't trip and fall, and also sound like you're confident and sure of yourself. It was our first time working with a music composer. It was so much fun. And some of my teammates are not Filipino. So being that bridge on how to collaborate with non Filipinos about a very Filipino story, but within the Edmonton context, and also making sure that the final product, the way that the videos and narration and the story has been laid out at the very final version of the film, resonates with audiences from across Canada because it will be broadcasted through TELUS, which is a major Canadian outlet. So those are some of the challenges that I had. The budgeting was also a bit of a challenge also, but we managed to make the numbers work. And I also feel fortunate that every person who got funding through this program was paired with a mentor who was giving me feedback every step of the way. And for me, an extra lucky circumstance is my program manager through TELUS was a Filipino Canadian filmmaker. So I can talk to them about my challenges and questions, and that they would completely know the context that I was coming from. But just like with everything, even with my previous ambitious endeavors, I always tell myself everything is figure outable. So, and that's what happened.
Oh, look at how God works. That's fantastic. Very well done, Giselle. We're so proud of you. And when
Thank
you have
you.
training, you must invite me personally to
Of
come.
course, of course.
We will come and celebrate the stories, and we come to celebrate this amazing production that you've been
Thank
working.
you.
Okay, so let's move on to the next idea, and this may be it be heavy for some of our listeners, but I think it's kind of important to talk about mental health, especially as it pertains to men, and most importantly as it pertains to women. And I know this
Mhm.
is one of the things you're also very passionate about. And I know, could you speak let me not steal your thunder. Why are you passionate about women's mental health, our mental health?
I think I can't remember where exactly I heard it, but the moment I read online this concept that your brain is a part of your body, so if it's not well, you should treat it as such. You know that if you have a stomach ache and it's hurting you for a while, you go to the doctor for it. Or if your kneecaps are hurting and your joints and it's hampering your ability to walk, then you should address that with accessories and therapy and physio or what have you. So when I read somewhere that when something's going on with your brain, because the brain is a literal physical part of our body, and it really affects everything we do, that should be taken very seriously. So I think that concept that got planted in my mind when I was in university. I was in university around late 2000s, early 2010s, when the conversation about mental health is still just starting to ramp up. And on top of that, there's definitely, I know that I'm not the only one with trauma in my life, but for me specifically, I had challenges from being an orphaned as a child. I had experience with childhood sexual abuse that was very challenging. And mentally and psychologically, it feels like this additional weight in my mind and in my heart that really, and where I have observed that it's really limiting what I am doing in the present time. Sometimes I have trouble being assertive, or sometimes I have trouble being joyful. And I figured, okay, something's going on and we need to sort it out. And when I talked to my work supervisor about this a while back, that's when she told me about these free mental health resources that I tried to access, and it worked really well. And that's when I realized that in a system like Canada, where we are known to having free healthcare system, right? So if you go to a doctor when you get a cold or a flu or broken bones, or you rush to the ER without having to worry about it. But that is not the case for mental health, and that's why I've been talking about the importance of knowing the resources that are available, or if going to a professional is still a bit undesirable somehow, you're not ready for that. Just being aware of what's going on in your mind and in your body is really important, because once that is resolved, it won't 100% go away, but managing it will help us be our truly happiest, healthiest, most successful selves.
Mm. And yes, of course, and this resonated with me because, like many, like millions did across the world, I read Spare, the autobiography written by Prince Harry, and in it he said when he reached the age his mom died, he felt quite solemn. So I can relate when you write and say, T, when I turned 33, this was the age in which my mom died.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, that's I can I want to relate to that. I feel the tremors of the emotion, and in many ways it feels it's a dark place. In many ways it feels power to you. You've achieved more than your parent, but then
That's
also it's all the daily struggles
mm-hmm.
of depression. Do I fit in? How do I deal with this? And you navigating and finding balance with with your past, with all that trauma, and just trying to forge ahead. And that cannot be easy, Giselle. I know.
Yeah, that's right. That is literally my latest birthday, like spring of last year. That is when I turned 33, and that's when and as you have mentioned, T, that's the age of my mother when that accident happened when I was 8 years old, and she protected me from the brunt of the car crash. So she died
Mm,
because of me, and she died to keep me alive. So it's definitely a very heavy realization. I believe about 4 years ago is when I discovered this book called Motherless Daughters, and the concept of how girls and who grow into women reckon with the fact that their mothers had died very young. And that was really interesting. And that's where I first heard the concept of when these girls and women reach the age of their mothers when they die, that it's a very tumultuous period in their life, and that it's very important to identify the symptoms and how that's manifesting in your body, in your heart, in your mind, because the people might not realize it, that it can cause them severe mental health issues. So
mm.
thankfully, I read that book 4 years ago, so I felt a little bit prepared when my birthday approached sometime in spring last year. Mhm.
Would you say you're doing much better now? I mean, in spite, would you say the darkness is over and you're walking into the light, or would you say it's still shadows? Um,
I Yeah, I think it's better now. I guess trigger warning for audiences over here. There had been time, if you might not have heard, there is this concept called passive suicidal ideation. So, which is different from active suicidal ideation, where people might be doing actual things constantly to end their lives. Well, folks with passive suicidal ideation, we just have a lot of these thoughts haunting in their mind about being okay with ending their life at some point in the near future. I will admit that as my birthday approached last year, that was a little bit more cumbersome. Like I felt that a lot more often. But I am prepared because I was seeing someone. I did have a therapist that I've been seeing for a while. So we were brainstorming ideas on how to get ready, how to be prepared. So by the time when on my actual birthday, it was such a very heavy, bittersweet day. But I know what to do with myself so that I can acknowledge the day and I can limit the chances of me self harming because I knew that was a distinct possibility. And then after the day has passed and more days had gone by, and I felt a little bit more further away from that particular day, that turning point, I felt a lot better and lighter. And I finally figured out a way because my therapist has been suggesting it many times. I just didn't know how to do it. So he told me like find a way to honor and memorialize their mother. And around the fall of last year, I managed to figure out what that is, and I managed to do it. So that also I think helped me have a more it's more these days I feel it's a bit more uplifting now. So yes, doing much better. Yes.
I'm very
Hmm.
happy to hear this, Giselle, and you mean a
Thank
lot
you.
to us. So I want you to speak to maybe one or two people. Maybe you are battling passive suicide ideations. Maybe you are battling with salient depression. Maybe
Hmm.
people don't even know what they're depressed about or what brings on the darkness. Could you sort of like point people in the direction? You talked about therapy. Um,
Hmm.
and there's so many free places right now. The government is putting money, and it doesn't cost an arm and a leg to see a mental health therapist anymore. So I want you to speak to that, please.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the first free mental health resource I tapped into, and I will forever be grateful to them, is the Sexual Assault Center of Edmonton. They're free. It doesn't matter when the sexual abuse had happened, whether it's recent or decades ago. They if you call in and they find that you're eligible and then you're in a good place to for further services, you get put in a wait list and you wait for your turn and then make arrangements for the appointments and things like that. So that is the first organization I would suggest. As a related note, though, I know that when someone is seeking mental health resources, when they get a no or you need to wait a certain amount of time, I encourage you to not feel discouraged because you are worth the wait. You can choose to find other resources, but don't give up your waiting list spot on the other place if you had to wait. Because unfortunately, with that organization, the waiting list has gotten a lot longer because the demand has gone so much higher. During my time back in 2017, the wait list is 2 months. I heard that the wait list now is 9 months, which for some I understand can feel like forever, but I really, really encourage people to hold on and wait because the time will fly by anyways, and then you will have your chance to get the professional supports that you need. There are also other resources that are available now. You can call 811 for recommendations, talk to the nurses there. There's some, I'm not very familiar with them because I haven't tapped into them in a while, but I've been observing a growth of culturally sensitive mental health resources. So for the Muslim community, IFSA might have some resources now. I think there's some Black culturally sensitive therapists now online and offline. So try to explore as much as you can. My other suggestion too, of course, don't treat these content as medical advice, but social media has been really helpful for me to stay informed and up to date about mental health concepts, even though I don't feel ready to see a therapist for that specific issue. So the internet has a very, very great resource. Of course, filter the resources and use at your own discretion. But even just seriously, I learned about the concept of passive suicidal ideation through online, and then that's what prompted me to search through it a little bit more. And then my final advice is, as I mentioned earlier, the brain is an important part of your body. Even though the challenges might not be as physically evident as like a broken bone or feeling nausea or having a headache and whatnot, you are worth the effort it takes to understand and resolve the issues that you feel is haunting your mind and your heart. I think that is really the main takeaway I want to share is that you are worth it. If you're going to go to the dentist to get your teeth cleaned, you deserve the time and give it to yourself to research and find mental health supports for you.
Mm. Mm. Amen. Well spoken. You're worth the effort. I think we all need to say that to ourselves. We are worth it. I am worth it.
Mhm.
One final thing before we let you go, Giselle, you recently participated in a program sponsored by Equal Voice, a not-for-profit that is all about improving gender representation in Canadian politics. What was that about? Was that any good for you, or what are your thoughts coming out of that?
Absolutely. So I can give a bit more context about Equal Voice because I've known them for a while actually. I first encountered Equal Voice in 2015. So they've been around for a while. They have chapters all over Canada, and yes, their intention is to encourage more women participation in politics, increase the gender representation in politics. And the good thing about their programs and what they inspire people to do is they provide training and resources and inspiration both to the people who want to be in the front line, so who want to run to be the politicians, and to help the campaigns of these folks. So if someone likes marketing and communications or policy or helping with the canvassing, you wanted to work behind the scenes because every successful candidate relies on a good team helping them to make it happen. So in the past, most of their activities are in person, but COVID had changed how people think about training and building networks. So back in 2022, I was actually asked to be a guest speaker to talk about my personal experiences from back in 2021. So other people benefited from my stories and my advice. And then last fall, I attended one of these sessions. It's really interesting because it's all virtual. So we have to strategically calculate time zones because there were women from all over Canada, from Nova Scotia to Victoria, BC. It's really incredible. The sessions are online, and the guest speakers are also from all over Canada. So they had guest speakers from Toronto, some Alberta politicians actually came and spoke, so that was really fantastic. And there was time for the lecture part, for lack of a better word, like the actual concepts being shared, the guest speakers, and then an activity with breakout rooms. All of these happen in Zoom. And then we got our materials, both a PDF copy of like a print copy, and we're about to get video recordings of the actual lecture part pretty soon. So I realize that they're really trying their best to cater to different learning styles, which is fantastic. And I attended the city's campaigning school back in 2017, and comparing it to the most recent one now, there is more acknowledgement of the systemic barriers from an intersectional perspective. So what I'm trying to say here is the advices and the resources, they can help women in general, but they had provide additional information for folks that might have other challenges and barriers. Perhaps they're low income or disabled or a person of color. So maybe buying lawn signs might be maybe a bit difficult, or for a disabled person, door knocking might not be feasible, or at least compared to other candidates. So all of those kinds of information, and there's just something really uplifting about sharing the virtual room with a bunch of women from all over the country running for all levels of political office or supporting other women who are doing so. So overall, I had a very good experience. I highly recommend it. Um, it's not free. I paid a little bit, like $70 or something like that, but it is worth the money. And they have an option for people who cannot afford it. So they are inclusive and flexible, but I'm fortunate enough. I do have that bit of wiggle room in my allowance, so I'm happy to pay the full fee. And yes, it was really good. Highly recommend.
Lovely. Do you think more women should get into political office?
I believe so because here's the other thing to consider is that whenever there's conversation about more representation in politics, it's I think sometimes the conversation is a bit too simplified, like men and women only. But even within a gender category, there's also a wide range of experiences and circumstances. So honestly, if I get asked, should there be more young people, young adults in office? Yes, absolutely, men and women. Should there be more people who had experienced poverty being our political leaders? Absolutely, men or women. Should there be more seniors who should be our politicians? Absolutely, men and women. So, yes, should there be more women in political office? Yes, absolutely. And it is even just as important that their other experiences and circumstances and life perspectives be also factored in because people are way more than just their gender. And on top of that, I know I've perceived it during those campaigning school sessions that there is interest in a bit of reluctance as to what they think they can do. I think that whether being a public servant or a political staffer or perhaps doing marketing for political campaigns, I think the political sector, for a lack of better word, is a very valid career choice. I mean, it's much bigger in the United States, right? Given how much you spend on campaigns over there, but that is something that women, no matter what they want to do, policy, marketing, you know, in front of the stage, behind the scenes, that they should see themselves doing and do it very successfully.
Mm. Thank you very much, Giselle General. I'm afraid we would have to leave it there. I hope you join us again soon when the coast is clear. We can have a more robust conversation about 2025 and about this and about that. Amongst the many, many things you ran in 2021 in for councillor in Ward CP Winiwak, and you
Mhm.
earned 22.4% of the vote. You are Giselle General, and we're just so grateful for taking the time to share. You tell us your production coming up, your upcoming production, your thoughts concern around mental health, and the work you did with Equal Voice. Giselle General, thank you again for joining the
Thanks
show.
again. Have a good night.
Okay, good night. And there we have it. What a show! What a show! What a show! Um. Okay. Oops. What a show, what a show, what a show. I want to say thank you to you for watching. We've had three incredible guests tonight. We started at the top of the hour with Dr. Charles at 7:30 with Dr. Charles Odame Ankara, and then we moved on to Jennifer Rice. And we have capped the evening up with Giselle, with very inspiring conversation with Giselle around entrepreneurship, around trying new things. I hope you were inspired because I was. And mental health. And yeah, women should go out and put themselves up for office because, amongst many other reasons, it's the right thing to do. We hope to see you next week when we have another interesting lineup. We hope to have David Shepherd next week. We hope to have I won't disclose who we're having next week. Just stay tuned. We hope to see you again. Thanks for watching. Good night.